it.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
The Juliana Maverick and the Santa Cruz Hightower have the souls of much bigger bikes. That might be why they fit in so well on the big mountains of Park City, Utah. At 140 rear, 150 front, the Maverick is by no means a small bike, but it's got something under the hood that almost puts it in the Enduro league. It's long and low, and it's got the new lower link VPP.
I really like this platform. I'll be the first to admit that I haven't loved a lot of the VPP Santa Cruz designs in the past.
No, when?
I really like the new ones though, and the Hightower really stands out for me. I really do like the tall boy, the new tall boy, but the Hightower, it feels like it's as efficient. It's almost like why not kind of a bike, right? Like it's got a little bit more travel, and it feels like as efficient, as quick on the climbs, maybe a little bit more like gushy when you push it into corners and stuff like that. But it's just like, it adds a level of capability, you know, like that you can really access the big mountains on this bike. It just feels like a classic all mountain bike to me. Yeah,
I totally agree. It's like, it's a bike you can ride all day, tackle some big climbs, and then descend some rowdy stuff on the other side. And part of that I think is it's a pretty lightweight bike, at least the build we had. But I mean, it's also definitely, the suspension is super efficient and feels good whether you're going up or going down.
Yeah, it's got the geometry to stand behind that, right? Like it's got a nice deep seat angle. It's got an appropriate slack head angle.
Yeah, 65.5.
Yeah, and it's like, it's modern, right? Modern reach, everything. It doesn't feel too long. It feels like a nice, comfortable bike.
It strikes a balance. The Maverick is rarely ever too much bike, but we'd hate to see the moment that it becomes too little. In fact, we gave it a little promotion while we were testing it.
So we chose to ride this bike on the more aggressive course, and we had a lot of bikes that were much bigger than this, you know, more suited for that course, but it didn't feel like it was, you know, undergunned really.
No, it didn't feel like a compromise at all, and I think that speaks to this bike, right? Like, when you just look at the specs, you think, you know, it's in that sort of mid-range category, but it's really capable of doing like full-on downhill trails, which is what we were, or old school downhill trails, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think about like trail bikes being, you know, like they have to climb and they have to descend kind of equally, right? There's no like bias, right? And then when I think about all mountain bikes, which we kind of really, you know, we don't use that term quite as often as we used to, but like I think about, this is like just a bigger version of a trail bike, right? Like it doesn't seem like it has a bias. You know, it climbs super well, it descends super well. It doesn't really prefer either one. And that's what I really like about it, you know, because it does feel like a bike that you can just like do whatever on. You can go, you know, on vacations with it. You can ride your home trails. You can take it on bigger shit. It's a great bike.
Yeah, I mean, there are places where I'd rather have a tall boy, I think, or a Joplin.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, those trails are, you know, places where you don't have extended descents or trails that are really tight and techy, and you just need something that corners really, really well. You want to be able to get on the gas really fast and just turn the bike on a dime.
Yeah, that bike does have more of an XC feel, right? But like, I just feel like you're not compromising that much when you go up to the Hightower.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's the main rub with these two bikes is it's like they're both super capable. So when you're looking at one or the other, I think it's a really terrain-specific decision. Like, what are you riding most around your house? Like, what's your like goal for the season? You know, like if you're trying to go bigger and get sendier, and you really like to point it, this is the bike for you.
Yeah.
If you're more of like a tech specialist and you like the twisty, you know, wringly stuff, that's probably more of a tall boy.
Yeah, I think another interesting comparison is the Norco Sight.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the bikes aren't that different in terms of their travel numbers. The Sight has a little bit more, but they feel really different because when you ride the Sight, you do get the sense that the bike was designed for descents.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hightower, as we've been saying, it feels more balanced.
Yeah, it's definitely a bike you can sit on or sit in and pedal pretty efficiently for a long time. Like on those fire road climbs we were doing, it was great. It didn't feel like you were compromising.
But I do think that like there is a compromise for like the excellent pedal characteristics of this bike, where I feel like on the descents I felt like it was over damped and I couldn't get it to be like either the compression or the rebound to be fast enough, and I was losing traction as a result of that. Like really diving it into corners, I felt like the Norco had far better rear wheel traction.
Yeah.
Especially, and just like it would, it just held those corners so much better. This one felt a little bit more like through the braking bumps and stuff. It just, you could feel it chattering a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit more muscle to control it and everything. But like, you know, I think that's just the compromise for having something that's so even-handed. You know, it's really hard to make a bike that goes downhill as well as that Sight does, but then climb as well as the Hightower will.
And something we talked about too is that the Juliana version of this bike has a lighter tune.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there are like men buying the Julianas
right.
For that lighter tune, right?
Because the Maverick is available into a large, which is a new thing for most Juliana bikes. And so, yeah, I've heard lots of people talking about their boyfriends or people buying the Juliana version of this bike, and I think that that lighter shock tune could be appealing to some guys depending on your style of riding.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes the colors are radder in the Julianas.
Hot tomato!
That said, one thing I did like that you might not get with a lighter tune is the same ramp. And I did feel like the Hightower ramped up really nicely. So even though it was a little more chattery than a bike like the Sight, I feel like I could still hit drops on it and not feel like I was going to slam into the end of the travel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got that nice supportive feel to it.
Yeah.
That new linkage has the benefit of being more supportive, and with the lighter tune Juliana gives its bikes, that came at nearly no cost to small bump sensitivity. It kept the Maverick planted and predictable, and is part of why we had a hard time pairing it with a test loop or even a category. We've got its full review and the rest of the Bible of Bike Test videos at bikemag.com.